yeah, I guess from state to state, it's different and individual is different. But yeah, there's those ones where it's more amplified and more supported in some and less in others.
For sure.
But, you know, tying it back into the individualism, even people who like grow up in, you know, like towns and cities that we've never heard of in the States. And then they move to like, you know, the Big Apple or California and they just make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's that drive, there's that enthusiasm.
Yes. And it's encouraged too. I feel, I'm not saying it's negative. I'm just saying like it's my experience. I feel in Canada, it's less encouraged to be an overachiever, to challenge a perspective or, you know, be a game changer type person. It's like more so just, you know, do what you have to do to just keep the, you know, status quo.
Say your sorries all the time.
Yeah, say your sorries.
Be really polite. Yeah.
You know, I say sometimes as a joke to people, and like, there was someone like, I'm sorry. And I'll be like, you don't have to be sorry. And here people, they don't know what to do when you say that. Like when you just went to Vancouver, oh, you don't have to be sorry. Don't worry about it. Like,
I know. So I could like bump into somebody and spill my coffee on them and they say sorry to me. It's like, that was all me.
Yeah.
We're just like so conditioned to like, yeah, just be polite and always be sorry and hold the door open for everybody. And when are we putting ourselves first? You know?
Yes.
I mean, I think we only do that when we get to a certain age.
And again, I think it's that balance, right? Any one of those things, right? Being too far one side of saying sorry too much, but not just saying sorry, but like not sticking up for yourself. Because I was historically guilty of that, of like not having as much self-confidence or sticking up. When my mom used to say, you need to like stand up for yourself more. So there is that aspect, and then there's the opposite, which we're talking the too much individualism.
Yeah. You know, I don't really know the whole process of people who have like kind of come to Canada. But from a couple of people that I've spoken to that have like come here from different countries and they've gone through like the ESL program and stuff, the English schools aren't necessarily teaching them to communicate and express themselves, more or less just teaching them just to get by.
Yeah.
Which makes it, there's this dude that we met in a sauna, and he was kind of chatting. He's like, yeah, I was never really set up to kind of learn to communicate with people and share and be personable. We're really just kind of taught this language just to kind of, okay, thank you, goodbye, please, here, you know, just getting by on things. And it kind of made me wonder, like, you know, how are people finding their way? How are people finding their drive if they're not really being encouraged to do that?
Do you find it's different, the location in Canada, like Vancouver versus like East Coast, or rural versus living downtown? Do you notice a difference in how people express themselves, or if they're more cold or warm or like that kind of thing?
Well, I've only lived, so I was born in Ontario, but I moved when I was 7 and then grew up in Winnipeg, basically. So I was just saying I'm from Winnipeg. And it's called Friendly Manitoba, but not everybody's really friendly there. And coming out here, there's just so much more culture here. And even some of the same ethnicities from like Winnipeg and compared to out here, they're still living 2 separate lifestyles, even though they still have like the same background. So I guess to like answer that question is I find it more fruitful here for sure. Like I haven't gone back to Winnipeg I haven't been there since 2009.
Wow.
I've got like really good friends there, but you know, there's just nothing. Once you get to a certain age there's not much you can do that you haven't done already. And it's okay to just like, you know, grow up, you know, have your kids, get that right job, start your family there, set your roots down. That's super common there, right? But yeah, some people want to like step outside that. And they have other goals. So they, move to Toronto, move to Vancouver, move to Calgary, see the rest of the world.
And this is a path you chose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Well, if I would have stayed in Winnipeg, I probably would have not gotten parole or just continued to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So coming out here to strengthen my family bond again was part of my my rehabilitation process. It was part of my correctional plan.
And do you think it was mostly family related, like and possibly the change, like in like where you're living that caused that, or is there other parts in Winnipeg that drew you into that lifestyle?
Well, when I came out here, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I've always been interested in business. And I had no idea what it was going to be like to work a legitimate job again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I had to just, you have to follow conditions when you're on parole, right? And getting a legit job, showing my finances, showing that I'm doing well was part of the plan. So, first job that I got was, it was flooring.
Flooring.
I did flooring with my dad on and off from the age of 18, probably 16 to 20 or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I hated it.
Sure.
Hated it. And so this is the first job that I got when I came out here though, right? And I did it for one day and then I realized this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
So gave that up. And then the next job that I found was at Hell Pizza on Davie Street.
Okay. I've never been to Hell Pizza.
Oh my God. It's the best. It was the best pizza in the North Shore for 5 years.
Really?
But it wasn't big here. In New Zealand, it's $40-45 million franchise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so it's a huge franchise.
Yeah, it's huge out there. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first job. And then, when we're talking earlier about how reflecting on personal
Mm-hmm.
development and stuff, I had to, my first supervisor, I had to learn to take orders from someone, to have someone tell me what to do. That wasn't my lifestyle before, dude. It was me telling people what to do, but also me being told by one other person what to do.
Yes.
So having to navigate through this, but also know that this is just part of my life now.
Mm-hmm.
So having to swallow my pride and realize the parts of when I wanted to react or I was upset about something because of the way that they spoke to me. It's it was a process for sure.
How did you wrestle through that? I imagine that's something if you're used to communicating a certain way, mm-hmm. and then you change that to the new way, that doesn't come just overnight easily.
No, I knew that it was part of a bigger picture for me. So I really just had to take it on the chin day by day. And work towards something that I thought was going to just be part of my life moving forward. And that was working my way up to supervisor. And then the owner offered me, and this is when I had to actually start looking for a place for myself. So he offered me a basement suite in his home, which was fully furnished. And he said I could manage his store in North Van. And I was like, hey, this is I'm being rewarded now for all the hard work that I've done, right? I'm I deserve this. So I took the opportunity and moved in, started managing the North Vancouver location. And even still, even having those little achievements, I would still kind of get into my head a little bit being Andrew, you're making pizzas and you're it was 30 years old or something like that. And I'm you're making pizzas. Where's this going? And I'm just finding myself comparing myself to others and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm also Andrew, you also went to prison at the prime of your life. It was 24. 24, yeah. And that's when they say you can do anything with your life at that age. And there I was throwing it away, right? But then working at the pizza place, I find myself just comparing myself to where everyone else is at. Mm-hmm. And the people that are training me are younger than me. So it was it was kind of tough to navigate through, and it was a bit of a paradigm shift for sure. But once he once he offered me like ownership of one of the locations, that's when like I knew like, okay, so this is going to be like my life, like moving forward. And yeah, I was sadly mistaken. Yeah.
You mentioned that to me a little bit in the email you sent me. That is this the same guy who you thought was helping you, setting you up, and then he ended up being a scammer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what he did was he offered me ownership of his restaurant in North Van, and then a year later, over that course of time, he was slowly putting in like plans behind the scenes to make an exit from Canada, and like multi-level here. So first, he invited the guy who, one of the first three people who started Hell Pizza, brilliant guy, Warren Powell. He was one of the first three people that started Hell Pizza. He brought him to Canada and would partner with him, and said that Warren could get his PR by working for his company. But he came and he made an investment, and Steve ended up stealing that investment from Warren, but he didn't find out about it until a year later, and then ruined the relationship with the landlord so that I couldn't continue even after he left. And he also owned the rights to the name in Canada. So he left with his like 250 grand stolen, didn't pay payroll taxes, didn't pay GST. There's an account, there's a file with CRA where they're investigating. Like that's factual. So yeah, I got to this point in my life in July 2016 where we had to close the restaurant, and it was completely out of my control. I couldn't even like just reopen somewhere else.
Wow.
So
So what was that like? Like you're trying to put your life back together, and then you're have this huge roadblock, right? Like life transitioning moment when the path you're on, it's no longer a viable path. So what did you do from there?
There was so much anger and resentment towards him that I was trying to like also not forget, but a year before I took my teacher training. So I'm like trying to like apply all these like principles into my life and doing it like step by step, just with like staff members and customers and, life shit. But this was like paramount. And I'm like, this is like a lesson that is like far beyond any of my control that I just can't do anything about. How am I supposed to get through this? And, after getting over like a lot of the anger, and realizing that Warren had been screwed over even more than I was, I realized that I can do anything I want now. So I took a month off. I started to kind of regroup. The day after the restaurant closed, I taught my first yoga class.
Wow.
Yeah.
And had you been taking yoga prior?
Yeah. So I took my training in April 2015. I graduated in June 2015. And then in